So here is my steak pie and chips with peas. Hello and welcome to Eat These Words. Today I am making a steak pie. It's not quite traditional, but I will be telling you a little bit about it as I go along, giving you a few hints and tips on how to get some flavour in there, and basically showing you the finished article. So without no further ado, let's get into this. So these are all the ingredients that I'll need to make my steak pie. I'm going to be doing it in my pressure cooker, or at least the filling part of it in my pressure cooker. For the filling you need, well, I've got 750 grams of beef, stewing steak or chuck steak if you're American. I've got 2 medium onions that are sliced. Doesn't matter how they're sliced, so long as they're sliced. Some salt and pepper, some Worcester sauce, some carrots, a handful of carrots. This recipe can be tweaked to whatever you want it to be, which I'll go through as we go along. I've got some herbage. I've got some stock cubes and some bay leaves, and I've got some flour with salt and pepper in, and some red wine. And not to forget my top, ready rolled puff pastry. So I'm going to start by browning my meat, and I just want to show you a little hack that I've got here to make a little bit more extra kitchen space than you may have. I take a cutting board, which you've probably noticed a few times in my videos, and put it on top of my cooker to ensure I've got another surface to work with. Otherwise, I haven't got a lot of surface space, as you've probably gathered from my kitchen. Anyway, I've got a frying pan, which I'm going to put on a high heat because I'm going to be searing my beef. It was never done in years gone by. It just used to be put into a suet crust with some water and a few bits and pieces, such as onions and carrots, and then it was just left to cook. So, however, it was better meat in those days. They used steak, hence the name steak pie. However, these days we tend to use stewing steak or chuck steak, which needs longer cooking. So with that in mind, I start by browning it. So it's up to you. I have done it without browning it, with very good results. However, just for that little bit of extra flavour and je ne sais quoi, I'm going to brown it first of all. Now then, on goes the heat. I've got here about 3 tablespoons of plain flour, or all-purpose flour if you will, and I've added salt and pepper to the mix. And what I'm going to do is dip my beef into my flour and then fry it in there. Now you can use butter to fry it in. I'm just going to use a little bit of oil. And it's just because I don't want a really smoky kitchen, which can happen. This is a bit of a fiddly to do. So I'm going to use a pair of tongs, and I'm going to take the beef and just dip it each side in my flour and pop it into my pan. Now I'm not going to use I'm not going to put these all in together because that would make the meat stew. We don't want to be doing that on this occasion. I'm just going to be adding a couple of pieces at a time and browning them on all sides. Dredging them in flour just means that it's going to help the meat brown for one thing, and to help the fluids thicken up when we're making the sauce. And I'm just going to take my Instant Pot and pop all the cooked meats as they go, as they brown. I'm going to pop them into my Instant Pot. So pop them there. Okay, this is my last batch of meat now. I've been at it for about 10-15 minutes. And what we're aiming for is to get these brown bits on the meat. It won't cook the meat. It's just gonna give it a little bit of a crust. That's all we're after. We want it like that. And if you can see that, there you go. Don't expect it to be cooked because it's not going to be. I'm going to switch it off, give my meat a shake, and pop it into my. Now there's a lot of stuff in the bottom of here that I want to keep. I want that. That's flavour. I'm going to take my wine. This is red wine. Now use a red wine that you're going to drink, because a lot of people say it's fine. Just knock that off, sorry. Use a red wine that you're going to drink. A lot of people say it's fine to drink, to use cooking wine, but it does taste a bit blech. So use the one you like, is my motto. And there's about 100 mils of that going there. I'm just going to let that deglaze my pan. Let it cool down for a second. Just a second, of course. There we go. I'm sorry, I have a really bad habit of carrying a tea towel on my shoulder, as you probably know from lots of my videos. Scrape the bottom of the pan. We want all that goodness, and pop it in with your meat. You would do the same if you were doing this on a stove top or in a stove top or in a slow cooker. So now I'm going to add a few more ingredients. I'm going to add some onions, and I've got 2 medium-sized onions here, which I'm just popping in. Now you can, if you want, lightly cook your onions just to make them a bit sweeter. I don't mind them as they are. Again, if you're doing this in the slow cooker or in the pan, carry on. Just follow the same rules as we go along. I've chopped up a handful of carrots here into batons. It's up to you whether you put them in batons around. It's up to you. Whatever you find easiest, they're going in. Traditionally, it didn't have carrots in. It was just a meat pie, basically. But it's changed over time to accommodate different tastes. And every household has a different way of doing it. So to this, I'm going to add some Worcester sauce. Worcester sauce. And again, this is to your own taste. I like a good squidge, which is probably about 2 tablespoons. 2 stock cubes, 2 beef stock cubes. Pop them on top. There we go. That's 2. 2 bay leaf going in. And I've also got some herbage here, because I like a lot of herbage. So in my bowl, I've got some rosemary, which always goes nicely with beef, some thyme, some parsley, and celery salt. If you don't have celery salt, just stick a stalk of celery in there, finely chopped up, it's fine. So I'm going to pop that in. Now you can also add potatoes. If you want them to stay chunky, use new potatoes. Otherwise, old potatoes or larger potatoes will just crumble in here. They will help to thicken it. You could also add turnip and any other root vegetable that you so wish. This is your pie when you make it. I'm just giving you what a general pie, steak pie has in it. The only thing that this is missing in that I like to have in mine is a hefty squirt of tomato puree. Yeah. And all that does is just help the wine keep its colour. That's all. And it helps to enrich it a bit more. So I'm going to pop the lid on. That's all my stuff. Now you're saying, why haven't you mixed it in? You don't really need to. You can if you want. So I'm going to pop this on. It's ready. I'm going to pressure cook beef. And we're going to press start. Make sure your pressure cook is set to sealed, not venting, of course. And then we're just going to wait until it's ready. So I've got to the end of my 30 minutes, as you can see, and it says don't open the lid, and there's a pressure mark in there. So I'm going to release the pressure. If you're going to cook this on the stove, then I would give this at least an hour, if not an hour and a half, and keep checking the meat to see if it's tender, and the vegetables as well. If you're doing it in a slow cooker, then 4 hours on high would be great. So yeah, you can do this in anything, not just the old Instant Pot here. I'm now going to release the lid as it's finished venting. Now please be careful when you do this. I'm going to give it a stir and see how it is. It could do with a little extra thickening. So what I'm going to do is pop this onto Saute, if I can find, yep, there we go, Saute, and start, and I'm going to add some water. Remove your bay leaves as well. And then I'm going to add some gravy granules. That's 1, 2, 3. I'm going to add 4 tablespoons here and see how we get on. And give it a good stir. The thing with adding gravy granules is that it gives it flavour, thickens it, and enriches the colour, which is always nice. Right, I'm just going to let that sit for a minute or two. I'm going to knock it off because it's going to get cooked in the oven. So if I cancel, where's my cancel? There we go. So I've cancelled that, and I'm going to pop it in a dish when it's cooled down a little bit. Make sure you do this a good few hours in advance, because adding pastry, cold pastry, to a warm stew is not a good idea, which is why I've made this in advance. I'm going to give it a couple of hours now, leave it to cool down, and come back to it and put the lid on it. So it's been a couple of days since I did my filling for my pie. The reason being is that my husband decided he wanted to do something else, so what I did was covered it in cling film and I put it in the fridge. So this is a couple of days later, and all I'm going to do is take some ready rolled cup pastry and roll it out, obviously. And I'm just going to turn it around for now because I want the other side just now. I'm going to pop it on there. And I'm going to score it with a knife. Now, it's up to you how you score it. I'm not going to judge you. You don't even have to do this. It's just for so it looks good, basically. So it's up to you. You don't have to do it, as I say. But I think it looks pretty when you do. So I'm just gonna do that, and then a bit the other way. As I say, it doesn't have to be immaculate. And pop this on top of there. So I'll just take that and pop it round a minute, because it's easy to do it when it's on a piece of paper. So I'm gonna grab hold of that for a moment. See, told you it was easier. And I'm going to place it on top of my pie filling. Doesn't have to be immaculate. And then just press it down on the edges. Then taking a knife, just make a couple of holes in the middle. That's just to let the steam out. And taking a brush, I've got about a tablespoon of milk in here. You could use an egg if you wanted. And all I'm going to do is just brush the top there. This just helps it to get a bit of a nice golden brown colour and a sheen on it as well. The fat in the milk helps it to get a sheen on it. Eggs work better, but I didn't want to spoil an egg for this, I'm afraid, because it doesn't use a full egg and I've got no need of an egg in the next few days. So milk it is. Pop it in an oven. Gas mark 7, I'll put the conversions on the screen here now for you. Gas mark 7 for approximately half an hour to 3/4. It really depends how your oven is. I like to place mine in the top of the oven just so it gets all the heat, because puff pastry loves heat, so the top of the oven tends to be the best for me. But keep an eye on it, is all I can say. So this is going in the oven for now. I shall be back with you when it's ready cooked. So this is my steak pie. It's just come out the oven, and I'm going to cut it up into pieces and put it on my plate, because this is our tea tonight. So down the middle, here we go. And then across again. I tend to make these to 6 people. But if you've got smaller people in the house, you can make it do a few more. Okay. So just to show you. How lovely this is. So here is my steak pie and chips with peas, because that's how it goes. So let's taste it, see how it is. Take a bit of meat. The meat is tender, the flavour is lovely. Obviously puff pastry is puff pastry and fries and everything, but that is delicious. Really tasty. Give it a whirl. And if you like what I'm doing, hit me up with a thumbs up. Comment below if you've ever made this or if you've got your own version of it. Subscribe and click the notification bell on the side there. Let me know how you get on. For now, Liz out. Enjoy.